Hello guys, what is up? My name is Dylan. Welcome to the Popcorn Podcast. I am once again joined by the wonderful Hannah TOWNSEND. Welcome back, Hannah. We just shot an episode actually on Paddington in Peru. So if you haven't seen that episode, be sure to go check it out if you have seen the film. We're doing something a little different this episode. I have not done this sort of structure except for the one time before. But so we're going to try it and we're going to see sort of how it works. So myself and Hannah are going to be counting down our top 10 favorite watches, favorite films during the autumn/winter season. So I'm talking the coziest of the cozy, the snuggliest of the snuggly, you know, the films that you kind of watch in the warmth of your home whilst outside there's a storm or snow or, you know, the autumn leaves are falling, rain, whatever it might be. So Hannah's joining me and we both built a top 10 list, our own personal top 10, and we're kind of going to go sort of 10, 10, 9, 9, 8, 7, etc. Does that sound good, Hannah?
Sounds good.
Fantastic. Before we do get into our lists, we do have a couple of, I want to say rules in place. So the only two kind of things that we've sort of omitted from our list, we have discarded straight up Christmas films, I would say. Mm-hmm. And also, I don't know if you've actually done this, Hannah, but I have not allowed myself to say any Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings films in this list because basically that would be my entire list.
Yeah.
Do you have any honourable mentions that you'd like to shout out that didn't quite crack the top 10?
I can't remember which one this replaced. I'll try and remember as I go down the
list. Yeah, we'll find out.
But I had The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo on at one point, which is just a very cold film. Whenever I watch it, I just feel cold.
It's a great pick.
But it's a great film.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah,
we see Daniel Craig getting hurt, being tortured.
Yeah,
much like in Bond.
Yes,
and the music. Gone away, gone away. Sail away. Stunning.
Yeah, and the opening credits as well.
Yeah, apparently Daniel Craig was the one who said that they should put in that Sail Away during that
there you go.
Oh, no, maybe fact check that because I'm not 100% sure.
We'll go with it though. But yeah, that is an incredibly that's a really dark start to this.
When it's cold outside.
Yeah, no, of course. To be completely honest, I was telling Hannah off screen, I don't know what she's picked for her top 10, but there is a lot on my list that you guys are going to probably think I'm a bit of a psychopath for putting in this cozy list, let's say. So yeah, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. That's a great honorable mention. Any others or?
I think that was my main one. What about you?
So I've got a couple. So obviously the entire Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter sort of series, but specifically I think Order of the Phoenix is kind of the most sort of autumny for me. I don't know why. I've got Little Women in there.
Am I supposed to react to anything?
I've got A Beautiful Mind.
Yeah.
I've got the Paddington films.
Oh,
because why not? Although you can watch them at sort of any time of the year, I would say. I've got Casper.
Yes.
Casper. The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Very nice.
The Wild Robot, which I saw recently. It's a very kind of sort of tribute to nature and sort of that kind of time. I've got Scream in there just because
I love Scream.
Yeah.
I love Scream. It's like the blueprint, isn't it, for all horror?
Exactly. It is indeed. I've got Hereditary as well.
Nice.
It's one of my favorite horrors, and I think it just something about watching it in autumn is just And then lastly, I've got Hugo, which is a Martin Scorsese film, which I think is just visually, I think it's quite warm and quite. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions. Shall we get cracking onto our top 10?
Let's
do it. So Hannah, I'm going to actually just straight up ask you, what is your number 10?
Top 10 for me is Frozen, but not the Disney version.
Okay.
This is the one where the two snowboarders get stuck on the chairlift.
I don't know this film.
Have you guys seen it?
No, the other Frozen guys. Have we seen this?
The other Frozen. I think maybe it's 2019. I'm not sure. It's about two snowboarders, kind of horror snowboard. I would say it's a bad. I chose my 10th as like a kind of cheesy bad pick. Right. It's two snowboarders. They're going up on a lift. The lift closes for and then there's a holiday for the next 2 weeks, and they're basically stuck on this chairlift, and it's them trying to get down. You know, there's like coyotes and stuff like this, but it's a really good, cozy, kind of scary, but in a bit of a crappy way. You know, just like that. Sometimes you just need a palate cleanser, but like there's such a fine line with films like this where it's really bad, or it's really bad but bad good.
Yeah.
And I think this is like the perfect one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, let's watch that tonight.
You should.
Frozen.
Yeah.
Frozen. Is it on anything right now? Is it on Netflix or anything? I'll find it.
Find it.
And my ways.
Probably on Prime.
Yeah. Frozen. Not the Disney version.
Frozen. The other
version,
Frozen.
The unknown Frozen. So my number 10 is actually 500 Days of Summer. So the reason it's at my number 10 is because of its ending. You have seen the film?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because of its ending, and specifically because I feel like if you were going to watch this film, you'd have to watch it right at the start of autumn.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like,
kind of takes you through.
Yeah, because it is kind of a summary film, but then it ends on literally basically autumn, right? The first time I watched this film, I was sort of going through a whole sort of rom-com era in my sort of teens. And I remember watching this film and I was like, this was one of the first films and I was like, hang on. This film, he doesn't get the girl.
Yeah.
You know, what is this? And, you know, it's essentially kind of a deconstruction on the rom-com genre. You know, the whole like sort of expectation versus reality thing I thought was like fantastic and is really, really quite tragic. And, you know, I think that film is directed by Mark Webb and I think he nails kind of human interactions, you know, the way people speak, even when he did the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man films. Those films to me are kind of like sort of high school films, but just have the exterior of a Spider-Man film. But this film, I think, has really, really great performances from Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zooey Deschanel. I think the film really captures sort of the essence of kind of falling in love, but also the tragedy of kind of losing it as well. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed this film. I think the elevator scene where he's listening to the Smiths and she's sort of singing along, that's like for me,
I love the Smiths.
Yeah.
I also love the IKEA scene.
Yeah, when they just go and jump on different beds.
And
so
you kind of think they're in that world and then you're kind of so good.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I really, really love 500 Days of Summer. But there you go. What is your number 9, Hannah?
My number 9 is actually I, Tonya.
Oh, okay. I have seen it.
Yeah. I read something that was like, this movie reminded me why I love movies. And I think it's like the best biopic film. I really love it as a film. I think there's some really funny lines. There's this line that says like, she was such a happy and well-adjusted young girl. And then it like cuts to her being like kind of crazy. And I love that. And I think that Margot Robbie's performance in it is just out of this world. Did she get snubbed for the Oscar for that? I think she was nominated. I don't think she got it. I wonder if
she didn't get it.
She didn't
get it. This was 20. Oh, I'm really trying to think now. Was it Olivia Colman for The Favourite? I want to say. I think it was. Was it?
That would make sense.
Yeah.
If it was the same year, that would make sense.
Best Actress. Sorry, guys. Let's just a second. I'm just pulling this up. People are probably screaming at the thing already. 20.
No.
I'm so confused. Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards.
Oh, that is a great film. And that is a great performance, actually.
It is. All in all, a great performance.
A great performance. And I don't know, I feel like it lends itself to this kind of season. Whenever I see any sort of ice skating film, I'm like, maybe I could ice skate?
Can you ice skate?
No, I mean, not well.
I can't even stand properly. Like,
Yeah. But I watch it and I'm so inspired. I'm like, maybe at, the little local ice rinks, I could also do a triple axel, you know, and land it.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
I do. I really enjoy it. I think Margot is really great. I remember the one scene of her sort of trying to put on a sort of happy face. That's such a powerful scene.
Yeah.
And an iconic one. I remember like the editing as well. It's very, very kind of it's actually a lot. Even though it's quite a serious film, it's quite funny.
Yeah,
there's
a lot of humor.
There's a lot of good humor in it as well. I think Alison Janney in that film is great as well, who plays her mum.
Yeah, that relationship between them two.
She won. Alison Janney won for that.
Fine.
Film. There you go.
It got that Oscar.
Yeah, it did. But no, I think that's a great pick.
Good, thank
you.
Tonya.
Yeah. So mine's nowhere near sort of in the same sort of realm as Tonya. My number 9, God, if you know, is the Spiderwick Chronicles.
The Spiderwick Chronicles.
Okay, I had a feeling one would say this, but this film I have a lot of nostalgia for. So essentially, it kind of came out, I think this was sort of mid-2000s, 2006, 2007. I remember loving this film as a kid. It's essentially like a it's not quite a teen fantasy, but it's sort of not quite a kid's fantasy. It's somewhere in the middle. So I thought like people might not know about this film. So I have actually written down the kind of synopsis. So upon moving into the rundown Spiderwick estate with their mother, twin brothers Jared and Simon Grace, along with their sister Mallory, find themselves pulled into an alternate world full of fairies and other creatures. So essentially, the reason I love this film, I think it's a tribute and an ode to like just imagination and sort of fantasy, I would say, through the eyes of kids that age, it was literally that age when I watched it. And I think that it has some really, really cool creature designs, from sort of goblins to fairies to like sphinxes, and I really have a soft spot for that film in my heart. I think it's really, really solid. I watched it a couple of years ago and it still sort of holds up. And what it did for me was, and the reason why it's on this list is, there's this sort of plot kind of point in the film where these kids are, in their house, and the house is protected by this sort of magic circle. So dark, creatures and sinister creatures can't attack them because they're protected by essentially this force field around their house. So when I think of sort of autumn films and sort of being, locked up inside and kind of stuff, this is what kind of sort of reminds me of like sort of staying in that circle. And I think it's a great film. I don't know if people have seen. Have you guys seen this film, The Spiderwick Chronicles? Ebony, have you seen The Spiderwick Chronicles? No. Okay, cool. Okay, so we got 2 out of 4.
I like that when you rewatched it, that it still held up.
Yeah. No, definitely.
That's the worst, when you go back thinking this 100%. Is going to be great, and it's either problematic or just terrible, and you're like, great.
Yeah. No, I think it holds up really well, and I think it's what's his name? The guy who played Freddie Highmore, the actor. He plays twins, so he plays essentially 2 characters. I think he's really great as well. And it's quite scary at times. It's not afraid to go a little bit adult as well. And yeah, I think it's just a really solid. It sort of also came out in the time where a lot of fantasy films were coming out, so it has a kind of that sort of 2000s nostalgia about it. But yeah, I really enjoyed that film, The Spiderwick Chronicles. There you go.
I'll add it to my list.
So Hannah, what is your number 8?
My number 8 is Little Women, which was referenced
in my honourable mentions.
Yeah, in your honourable mentions.
Take it away.
Of course. I mean,
but which Little Women though?
I really like the new one.
The new one, yeah.
I mean, I love Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
I also love Emma Watson. I love it. It's such a cozy film.
Yeah.
You kind of want to spend time, you want to be in the family with the girls, with the sisterhood at Christmas time. I will say Little Women is a little bit haunted for me.
Ooh.
For 2 things. Number 1, obviously you've got The Simpsons, Moe, where he's like, and they were no longer little girls. They were little women, which loads of people think is actually a line from the book / film. Right. And it's not. Obviously it was just written for The Simpsons.
Yeah.
It worked perfectly, but a lot of people quote that thinking that is a Little Women line.
Yeah.
And then also Friends, I know you haven't seen Friends, but there's Joey talks about is reading Little Women, and obviously one of the sisters dies. There's a plot line there, so I always have to like take myself out of the world of other things that references Little Women when I'm watching it. But yeah, I really like the new Little Women.
Yeah, it is. I think. I mean, this is kind of the sort of through line with a lot of Greta Gerwig films.
Yes,
is that sort of that optimism and that warmth and the empathy that she's just so effortlessly able to sort of capture in these kind of films. But no, I 100% agree that there's a lot of depth to it as well, because obviously, I mean, the story has been around for a long, long time.
Yes,
and the cast is obviously fantastic as well. You have Laura Dern, you have Saoirse Ronan, you have Florence Pugh, and yeah, it's terrific. It really is.
But it's so cozy. You have to watch it kind of under a blanket, right?
Definitely. So my number 8, I think also I do want to preface, we should maybe buzz if we have one of these films at some point on the list.
Okay.
Also, I don't know what the buzz is. Don't make a noise up. But my number 8 is Knives Out.
Great pick.
Knives Out.
There's been a lot of Daniel Craig come up today.
Yeah, he's a popular guy, you know. What can I say? I don't know. Yeah, what can I say about Knives Out that hasn't sort of already been said before? Classic sort of contemporary take on a classic genre, comfy sweaters, thrilling sort of Agatha Christie-like screenplay, stellar cast, Daniel Craig doing a southern accent. You know, what's not to love here? Yeah, and also just the aesthetic of it. the brown leaves, the autumn kind of sort
Yeah.
of vibe aesthetic. I think it's brilliant. Fantastic film.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
It's a really strong story as well. Like, it's a really good mystery story.
Very
Knives
well
Out. Is it original? Is it an original story?
It is, yeah.
I wanted to just be sure.
Yeah.
But like of that type when you kind of can almost guess ahead what's going to happen. It's not. I'd say it was really strong.
Yeah.
I love Knives Out.
100%.
Yeah.
And
Well, now we're talking about it, it makes me want to rewatch it because it's been a while, and I think it's such a good movie.
Yeah, it has been a while for me as well. I do probably time's ticking.
Yeah,
It's gonna be 2025 beforehand, but yeah.
A rewatch. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was my number 8. Moving on to number 7.
Number 7 for me is a little bit rogue. We've gone a little bit rogue with the list, and I've gone for a documentary.
Okay.
Touching the Void.
Haven't seen it.
Oh, have you seen it? Okay, you need to go home and watch it.
Tell me what
do you want
it's
me to do a little synopsis?
So please do.
In 1985, 2 young climbers, Joe and Simon, set out to be the first to reach the summit of a peak in the Andes. They succeeded, and the two embark on a treacherous descent down the mountain, only to be met with disaster when Simpson breaks his leg in a fall, leaving Yates, these are now using their last names, which I appreciate is actually quite confusing, to lower him down the rest of the way with ropes. And then a storm threatens both of their lives. It is so good. So something about me, there's 2 niches of films that I really love.
Tell me.
Or documentaries. There's a kind of survival film based on a true story, which I love. There was a great Daniel Radcliffe film, which is like a kind of exactly the sort of film I love, where he's in the jungle.
I think I know the poster of what you're talking about, I want to say.
Oh, is it just called Jungle?
It might be called, yeah.
It's just called Jungle.
Yeah.
That kind of genre of film where it's a true life story and they're trying to make it out is exactly. I can give you a whole list of films that I love.
127 Hours?
Yep, anything like that. Love
Nice,
it. Live
nice.
for it. And then my other genre of film that I love is shark, specifically shark films.
Okay.
I love anything with a shark in it. But this, Touching the Void, really taps in. It's a documentary that taps into that love of survival stories.
Okay.
There's also a great podcast called I Survived, which is like different stories of people doing, treks and surviving. And this, it's all about climbing. And again, there's that one with the free solo.
Oh, yeah.
And the climbing community. I watch a lot of climbing documentaries and kind of about that. I don't climb, but this is it caused big uproar in the climbing community. This story.
How comes?
So at one point, one climber does something to the other that you should never do.
Oh.
You're told to never do this in the climbing community. Okay. I speak as if I'm in it, and I'm absolutely not. But they did something to the other climber that you should never do. And it is this incredible story of these 2 climbers. And it's so tense and it's so brilliant.
Okay.
Definitely watch Touching the Void.
I think you've just sold it to me.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I need to watch more documentary films. I'm just a sucker for sort of this cinematic side of things, but I think documentaries is something like a genre I just need to tap more into.
Yeah.
I did see, is it 8 Peaks, something Peaks? About the Nepalese guy who did all the highest peaks of the world or something like that. That was a great documentary I watched. Was it 14 peaks, 8 peaks, something like that.
It was many peaks.
Yeah, many peaks. But yeah, no, I think that's a really interesting point you make about the idea of, being able to connect to stories of survival and how like the human spirit sort of triumphs in the end. And I don't know, but
yeah. It's that kind of but I love it.
Yeah.
And Jungle. Maybe I'll put Jungle on the list. That's an honourable mention from me.
Yeah. There you go. Great. Well, my number 7 is not a survival story. It is arguably, I would say, potentially the best rom-com ever made, and that is When Harry Met Sally. Is that a buzzer?
I told my husband I was doing this, and he said, "Surely you're going to put When Harry Met
and
Sally."
And you said no.
There. Well, I don't know. I do love when. It's a great pick.
Yeah.
I'll add it to the honourable mention.
That's all right.
That's getting slowly bigger.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I really don't know what more I can say about When Harry Met Sally. I think it is pretty much the gold standard of rom-coms. Directed by Rob Reiner, starring Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan, who are both just electric. Timeline wise as well, that film sort of takes place around a similar time of year. It ends on New Year's Eve, from kind of the leaves changing color. And, if you look at that poster, it's so quintessential.
The orange. Is it the orange? Yeah.
So sort of fall, sort of autumn. I think it's just brilliant. I think it's basically a perfect film, and that's why I kind of had it on. Yeah.
Classic autumn.
I will say it was almost like I felt like a duty to put this on my list, but
there's what more?
What more can you say? What more can you say?
Yeah.
Number 6, Hannah.
Number 6 for me is a newer film.
Ooh, okay.
The Holdovers.
Oh, it was on TV last night, and
you didn't watch it.
I had it. It was on. I have seen it.
Oh, you've seen it. Okay.
No, yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to put this somewhere on the list.
Yeah.
I just completely forgot to do it. So please,
honourable mention.
Honourable mention.
You can add
there
it to
you
your
go.
Honourable mention
there
pile.
you go. Take it away.
That is again when I think kind of the autumn winter. Obviously, it's about a guy who works in a school, is looking after kids, young boys on kind of school break who've been left behind.
Yeah.
Oh, so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Things like this like tear me up. It's so sad, that aspect of like being a slightly unwanted child almost.
Yeah.
Not that I connect with that.
I was going to say,
my lovely dad.
Yeah, I'm going to have a chat with you.
That trope I think is very like heartwarming and sad, but just a brilliant new film. Quite again like an original story, well shot. It's like a warm hug of a film, that relationship, that friendship between
definitely
the two.
It's interesting because it is so recent, it is so new, but the way that film is shot and the way it feels, the sound, like the crackles of it does feel like a film that came out back in the 80s or the 90s. So it does have that kind of nostalgia to it that I really, really appreciate. And of course the cast is amazing. I think like Paul Giamatti was nominated, lost to Cillian Murphy, who was in your favorite film of last year. I've heard this take. And Davine Joy Randolph, that was it.
She was fantastic.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
It's crazy to come out so new and also feel like like you're right.
Like
I know it looks like it's been around for a while, but it also feels like it's been around for a while.
Yes,
it's got that quality.
Definitely, and it feels like because the 3 central characters in that film are all so different, but the way that they're kind of able to find themselves in each other, that's a story that's kind of timeless as well. And it's I also do have a soft spot for that film as well. I think it's a great pick for sure. My number 6 is Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Oh, nice.
Honestly, I am not always the biggest fan of Wes Anderson films, but I feel like I could have picked from a couple of his films. The Royal Tenenbaums and Rushmore were ones that came to mind, but Fantastic Mr. Fox for me, I think it's also a film you can watch at any time, but just visually as well, the sort of the burning ambers and oranges and all, it's very, very autumn to me. George Clooney's very soothing voice you get from that character is brilliant. The stop motion style, the attention to detail of Wes Anderson. It's a film that oozes kind of warmth and love, and I think it's definitely one of Wes Anderson's best. I think the only one that sort of tops this one for me is the Grand Budapest Hotel, which Hannah needs to check out. But yeah, that's kind of my number 6 pick. That's Fantastic Mr. Fox. I think it's
cozy.
It's cozy.
Cozy.
It just does everything right.
I love that.
There you go. Into our top 5 now.
We're in the top 5.
We're in the top 5. Things are getting serious now. So Hannah, your number 5.
I hope this isn't cheating, but we're going to go back to Carol.
Okay.
Because I wanted to speak about it slightly more. I mentioned it in the quickfire round, but I love Carol. I saw it on my birthday. Because of my birthday, I'm a 29th of December baby. And it had just come out. So it was in the cinemas around Christmas time. So I associate it with kind of Christmas or like this kind of season. And in it, like obviously it's shot in the 50s. There's a lot of furs. And I think it's just like a beautiful story. I think it's like the epitome of storytelling in a film. It holds such a like special place in my heart. Kate Blanchett is of course fantastic in anything that she touches.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
She can do no wrong.
Yeah. And I just love it. Yeah, I come back to it kind of around this time every year.
Yeah.
Kind of that kind of tragic, sad story. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Carol's great as well. Like superbly directed by Todd Haynes, and like similar to the Holdovers, does have that kind of real sort of grainy texture to it, and it feels like this is a story that is really sincere and genuine. And that film, kind as tragic and melancholic as it is, it kind of reminds me a bit of like a hot chocolate, and I don't know why.
I see that.
I don't know why. It's just like I feel like when I watch, if I want to watch that film, I need a hot chocolate.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just get that image.
I think the world in it is so well built.
Yeah.
For a timepiece.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Todd Haynes does next, because I think because recently he was supposed to do he was supposed to start shooting a film with Joaquin Phoenix, and Joaquin Phoenix recently just pulled out, I think the week before that they were supposed to start.
Oh, wow.
Huge controversy about it.
I wonder why.
But,
money.
Yeah. Number five.
Number five.
My number 5 is, and this one is also kind of a bit of a rogue one for me, and it's not a film that's quintessentially autumn or even winter, but it is, I feel like, a dark and kind of cold and complex film, and it is the Christopher Nolan film that I feel like is the most or often overlooked by people, just because it's not quite as flashy or big scale as something like The Dark Knight, The Inception, Interstellar, your favorite film, Oppenheimer. But this film on my number 5 is The Prestige.
Okay.
Have you seen The Prestige?
I don't think I have.
It's Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale and Scarlett Johansson and Michael Caine. It is essentially a period drama about 2 rival magicians, and the film is essentially about how they constantly try to one-up each other, and it's essentially about obsession and the lengths one will go to for their craft. So if you like films like Black Swan or Whiplash, this isn't quite as artsy as those, but it's such a riveting story about these 2 magicians, and I think
I have seen this.
You have, yeah. I think it's one of Nolan's best films, screenplays, which he co-wrote with his brother Jonathan Nolan, and has some fantastic performances from Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale. I think the whole film is just kind of genius, the way it's structured around this whole idea of the 3 acts of a magician. So like the pledge, the turn, and then of course the prestige, that 3-act structure. And it's Nolan in his most sort of Nolan, I guess, of the non-linear kind of structure. And it kind of is the film that reminds me a little bit of just before he became this renowned Hollywood director. This was the film that he did before The Dark Knight. So this came out in 2006. And I feel like, I think if you look at Christopher Nolan, in my opinion, he has one of the greatest sort of primes, I would say, that any director has had with The Prestige, The Dark Knight, and then Inception, just back to back. And I think, it's a terrific film. And I think the reason I kind of have it here in my winter sort of autumn watch is just purely because it's quite a dark and gloomy film, and I feel like every time I watch that film I'm kind of blown away. There's some really, really cool twists. So that's just,
I've definitely seen it. I looked up the cover, and I've seen a few clips from my phone of just like the shots, stills, and I've definitely seen that probably years ago. Do you know, when did it come out?
2006.
Okay, I've definitely seen it years ago, because I love magic, and I love magic films, and actually there aren't that many good magic films. There's been many an attempt, but I'm going to rewatch. Yeah, you've sold me.
100%. I'll tell you what, you rewatch The Prestige. I'll watch Into the Void.
Yeah,
I'll watch Into the Void.
I think you'll like it.
Okay, Hannah, we are going on to our number 4s.
My number 4, again, this is maybe a slightly rogue, a rogue one, but we got the Simpsons movie.
Oh gosh,
I think there's never a bad time to watch the Simpsons movie, right? But I do think it's got like, they go to Alaska in it. It's quite cozy.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
The boob lady.
Exactly. They're off to Alaska. I think when one of my favorite jokes, probably of all time, is the switch between like the best day of your life, the best day of your life so far, the worst day of your life, the worst day of your life so far. And I think when they're on the motorbike, they're going through leaves, so it kind of always reminds me of
a little bit of autumn. Yeah,
a little bit of autumn. And I think when Lisa's speaking to the boy, where he's like, "It's not Bono," I think there's leaves in that. For some reason, I really associate it with this time of year.
Yeah.
I think that is a perfect movie.
Simpsons movie.
Yeah, I think it's perfect. I think they have all the best. I think it's just the best that could have been.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, to be honest, it's been such a long time since I've watched that film, but I do remember watching it a lot as a kid. There's so much to love there, and of course, it's The Simpsons as well. It's timeless. It's just.
It's so good.
It's really, really. I'll be completely honest. I never expected you to bring the Simpsons movie up on an autumn.
I'm a big.
You know what?
Yeah.
It works.
I think it works. It reminds me of this kind of time. I also do love I love the scenes of them going to Alaska with there's the gag of the big photo of Alaska.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh no, and then it goes off screen. It is just that.
It's genius. Yeah. It's really, really, really cool.
I just love it. I love the initial gag where they're like, they've gone to see Itchy and Scratchy in the movie, and they're like, who would pay to see something in the movies that we could watch at home for free?
Yeah, it's funny because in the last episode I played a game called Guess the Movie from the Opening Line.
Yeah.
And I did say the Simpsons movie for it. So yeah, it feels like this film is somewhat coming back to
coming back.
Telling me,
We need the game. Is it Simpsons Hit and Run?
Have
they not said that they're bringing that back?
Oh my God, what a game.
What a game. Now when I think back on it, I'm like, was there actually much you could do in it? Or was it just really fun? Like, could you actually do that much in it?
I mean, there were like missions and stuff.
But it wasn't like a layered game, was it? But it was so good.
I'll be honest, every single time I got on that game, the first thing I'd do would be to run someone over.
Yeah, of course. And the little characters would be like,
It's such a good game. I need to,
there was rumours that they were developing it, like
remastering it.
They were doing a kind of new. But I think that was like, I've heard that rumour for about 6-7 years now, and it's still not out.
Yeah, gosh. What a game. What a game. What a game, what a movie.
Yeah.
So my number 4, I kind of conjoined it with my number 3.
Oh, okay.
So if you don't mind.
Go.
My number 4 and number 3 is a back-to-back double feature of The Thing and The Shining.
Oh, okay,
so
nice.
Actually, The Shining first and then The Thing. But
wait, which one's 2?
So if you were going to watch it back-to-back, I'd watch The Shining first and then The Thing. Yeah, again, what can I say? There's not really much I can add to these two films in terms of sort of what I feel about them that hasn't been said 1,000 times before. They are two of the greatest horror classics of all time. Mm-hmm. I did this sort of double feature last year during Halloween. Watched The Shining first and then watched The Thing, and I think it's like one of the greatest double back-to-back films I've ever done. The Shining, I just think the whole thing is overall just brilliant. Stanley Kubrick is a genius, and how he creates that sort of creepy, seemingly sort of inescapable environment and aesthetic. The maze, the carpet, the river of blood that comes down the corridor. Everything you need to know is kind of in that aesthetic, is built into that aesthetic, and you see how that kind of environment can drive one to the point of sheer insanity. And of course, Jack Nicholson, iconic in that film. And the reason I put it before The Thing, or I watch it before The Thing, is because as that film progresses, the film sort of ends in snow.
Yes.
And The Thing, obviously the entire film is like in snow. So it's like almost like you've kind of been on this kind of elemental sort of journey. And then I put The Thing on, and like, this is obviously the John Carpenter's The Thing, and I feel like that film, out of all the films on this list, kind of really makes me appreciate my blanket the most. It's the one that I do want to just kind of snuggle in, by a fireplace. The more the story goes on, it's about this sort of 12-man research team in Antarctica, and they sort of discover an alien that's buried in the ice, and the alien sort of takes over these guys, and there's an element of like who's the imposter, and the practical effects are so good, and it's just one of the most chilling and terrifying films you can watch. And I think it's also one that you can weirdly enough cozy up under a blanket to. And I think, just back to back, those two films for me is like an entire kind of evening experience. I did that on Halloween last year, and I have.
I love that.
Yeah, it's
double
brilliant.
bill.
Double bill.
It's amazing how The Shining is still so referenced.
Yeah.
It's so referenced.
Basically everything.
Yeah. It's a fantastic film.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. So those are my sort of 4 and 3. What is your number 4?
It's about a boy.
Is this Nicholas Hoult and Hugh Grant?
Yes.
And Rachel Weisz? Is it Rachel? Is it Rachel Weisz?
The mum.
Yeah.
I don't know who the mum is, I'll be honest.
Okay, I think it's Rachel. Take it away.
Do you know? Have you watched it?
I saw it a long time ago.
A long time ago. It's I specifically love kind of London-y films. I mainly actually like London films when they show London in a nice light, which I actually don't know that this one does. It's quite dark and gloomy. But that said, About a Boy is a great film. It's got so many good beats to it. There's so many like memorable lines. They talk about single mothers alone together, and he joins the group to like meet women. There's Hugh Grant, but and it's Nicholas Hoult when he's a young boy.
Yeah.
And around this time of year, my husband always calls it a Christmas film, which it's not. I think it begins and ends at Christmas. Right. It's most definitely not a Christmas film. It's not like the joyful fa la 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 la, like Deck the Halls or whatever. But it is definitely, it's very like cold and a little bit bleak.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about it is, it's just a little bit kind of crap of this life and these characters, very everyday. There's like no shimmer and shine to it.
I completely understand what you're saying. It's very kind of just bleak in its kind of depiction of what that kind of situation is and what it could be, but it's also not without charm and kind of
humor.
And humor, and that obviously comes from Hugh Grant. It comes from those characters and those performances. But I
think it was originally a book. Is that right? It was a book turned into a film.
Not too sure.
I mean, there's some great humor bits in it. There's Nicholas Hoult throws a loaf of bread at a duck and kills the duck at one point, which is like a really memorable scene. I think there's a really nice narrative voice in it of Hugh Grant that like tells a story, and I just think it flows really nicely. And whenever I want to kind of watch a bleak depiction of life
about a boy,
but obviously in the end,
there you go. I have done my 4 and 3. Do you want to do your number 3?
Hopefully this doesn't count. Oh no, this doesn't count as a Christmas film.
Sure.
Bridget Jones.
Okay.
The first one, specifically the first one.
Yep.
Again, I believe it starts at Christmas, right? She goes to the Christmas party.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but yes, I think it. Yeah.
She goes to the Christmas party and she meets Colin Firth, and they're in the Christmas jumpers. I love Bridget Jones. I think Renee Zellweger is like the best British accent that you could ever do.
Yeah.
She's just
I could not believe she's.
I know.
I could not believe it.
All those years ago when I found out that she wasn't. I mean, the cast is incredible. You've also got Hugh Grant.
Yeah.
And it's a really good rom-com movie. Again, it's funny. I think this time of year for me, it either lends horror or funny or the Simpsons Movie. It's something around this time of year that we always put on.
Yeah.
Again, that one had 3. We're talking about Paddington. That one's had.
Apparently, they're doing a 4.
Oh,
they're doing a 4, yeah. I think they were filming it. So I think they were filming it in Hampstead and so on.
Yeah. Sorry, now you're jogging my memory. Yeah. We go again.
There we go.
again.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like they should have just nipped it in the bud? Or
I think 2 was good.
I
think 3 wasn't as good. I think sometimes, but they say that the classic, the third one is the hardest.
Yes.
So possibly we'll come back for a 4th.
Who knows?
And it'll all be better. But I think sometimes things are good by themselves as a single piece of work, and I think that like they see them as kind of dollar signs sometimes of like, let's keep churning them out. But sometimes it
works out.
Sometimes take a roll of the dice. What's the one that 21 Jump Street, when they did 22 Jump Street, where I was like, incredible. Brilliant. Absolutely incredible.
Brilliant films.
And the references to the first film, that's how I think you do a sequel.
Yeah.
I think that's how
it is difficult. I think sequels in general, like it's very difficult, especially like legacy sequels as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you've seen Top Gun Maverick.
No.
Oh my God. Like that for me, I always say it whenever there's an opportunity to talk about a great sequel, I always bring up Top Gun Maverick. It's like the sequel get 40 years later, and I think it surpasses the first. And the risk you have with doing a sequel for a film that is so beloved is just and more often than not, the sequels just aren't that good. But every now and then.
Every now and then. They may as well take a roll of the dice and give it a go, because if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Well, there you go. Well said. Yeah, so my number 2, like I said, I'm going to sound just like such a film bro for this one, but it is The Batman, which came out in 2022, I want to say. The reason why it's on my sort of autumn winter list, even though you can technically watch it at any point in the year, is just because of what director Matt Reeves and the cinematographer Greg Fraser did with building that version of Gotham City. I think it is the best version of that city, that, you know, comic book city that we've ever had on screen. You know, it screams kind of gritty and grungy, and just, you know, the film opens on with Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne narrating on Halloween night, and the film takes place basically the week preceding Halloween. So obviously, just time of the year wise, it is basically pitch perfect. Yeah, and you're basically thrown right into the grit and the grunge of this sort of criminally infested city. The entire city, I think I can make an argument for why this is one of the most beautiful comic book film potentially ever made, like just from a visual perspective, if you're not taking into consideration the Spider-Verse films. I sound like such a comic book nerd here, but I just had to pop this one on. I think the city itself feels like a character of itself. It is constantly raining. So if I'm watching this inside and, you know, there's a thunderstorm or rainstorm outside, it's even better. It's not a sort of stereotypical superhero film. It definitely has more in common with something like a serial killer murder mystery, something reminiscent of sort of David Fincher's Seven or something like that. I think it's a really, really dark, moody film. And it's one that I really, really enjoy watching at this time of the year. And yeah, I do sound like such a film bro with this one, but
be a film bro.
But there you go. That's my one film bro pick of this list. And
that's more than allowed.
And yeah, have you seen The Batman? Have you? No.
We've got a massive Lego Batmobile in our house.
Fair enough.
I hate.
You hate it?
Yeah, it doesn't go with the aesthetic that we're.
Who's?
It's my husband. Yeah. But and he is a big Batman.
Legend.
Yeah, he's a big Batman fan. But yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen any of the other Batman films?
No, it's not really a genre that I'd be.
So this is the. I feel like this is kind of the misconception of some of the Batman films, but like the Nolan.
He doesn't have any powers, right?
But that's why he's so great. That's why he's so great.
He can't.
That's why he's so great.
He can't fly.
Can he
fly?
He's not got superpowers, but he can fly via other means. Yeah,
He'll
jump off a building and soar through the air. That counts as flying. But his sort of conflict is on the ground. It's the street level scenarios, and he's so cool. Sorry.
Is he counted as a superhero then?
Yeah.
Yeah, even though he can't do anything.
Exactly, but this is what I'm saying. He can go toe to toe with Superman because of his mind. He's known as like the greatest detective on the planet.
Okay.
He's a genius level intellect. But Iron Man doesn't have superpowers.
Okay, fine.
There you go. This is actually what the episode is going to be about. I'm just going to. Sorry, I got way too. But there you go. That is my number 2 pick. The Batman. Right. Matt Reeves is the Batman, the one that came out in 2022. But Hannah.
Yeah.
What is your number 2?
We've talked about this slightly earlier, but not in this context.
Sure.
The Menu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know. You see, when I put that that film back in one of the games of the last episode, I had no idea that you were going to put that film.
Yeah, maybe I should have referenced to it. I mean, I love The Menu as a film. I think it's such a nice original story, and I think that them just being like kind of captured in that pod that is the restaurant. I love food, and I love food films as well, so I think it lends to that. And I think around this time it's like the concentration, because it's so cold and miserable, especially in the UK, the concentration is around film and like creating that world with film. I really enjoy watching that. I'm someone who I'll watch professional, I watch MasterChef, The Professionals. I very much enjoy the art of food,
the meticulous nature
of chefs and stuff. And I think them being captured on the island at the restaurant, again, and like a newer pick, so not like something that I go back, it's obviously not been going back to it since I was a child, but something that I think around this time of year I want to watch again.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm guessing.
I have seen it. So the first time I watched The Menu, it was the surprise screening at the London Film Festival. So every year at the London Film Festival, there's a surprise screening. We have no idea what it's going to be. So I think it was like 2 years ago, boom, The Menu. I had a lot of fun with it. I think that I've only seen it the once. I had fun with it. I do feel like the time I watched it was quite inconvenient to The Menu because it came out at the same time a similar film called Triangle of Sadness came out.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yes, I've seen Triangles.
I feel like the two of those are obviously big satire film.
Yeah.
So I feel like I was just so blown away by Triangle of Sadness that I never really gave the correct attention to the menu. But I did have a lot of fun with it. I thought Ralph Fiennes was fantastic, playing this almost psychopathic kind of chef, and Anya Taylor-Joy, the kind of one to sort of meet him there in the middle and just
with just to challenge the Triangle of Sadness. I think what I struggled with was the point of the movie that rich people are bad. I found it very difficult to understand
what the film was trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. I really struggled with it. Did it visually look good? Yeah. Was I interested in the storyline? Yeah, up to a point, but I wasn't sure what it was trying to say.
So for me, I think that film, the reason I really enjoyed it is because it was so, when I say different, it's almost like 3 short films in itself. Like the first part is basically like it's Harris Dickinson and his sort of date and their relationship.
Yes.
That first
sorry, just to cut in, I love that scene.
Yeah,
with the paying,
with the bell. Yeah, fantastic,
stunning.
And obviously the middle act is them on the cruise ship, and the third act is them on the island. And I kind of like that structure. If it's kind of like 3 different films all in one. But to go back to your point about what the film is kind of trying to say, for me, I didn't take so much of an issue with it, just because I felt like it was kind of just this sort of satire and just comedic look on what a lot of rich people are like, and how just out of touch they are with the world. And when you compare them to, your everyday people, I guess. Yeah, I just found the whole film super, super entertaining. And I feel like the writing itself, like the dialogue and the razor sharp kind of humor from that, for me, I felt like it was a stronger screenplay than The Menu. But yeah, 2 films that I really, really enjoy.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I know.
The Menu. There you go. There you go. So we are down to our number one.
Number one.
I'll go first. So
go.
You can do. We can do.
Imagine if they're the same.
Judging
by the list,
I doubt they're the same. This one definitely. I think out of all the picks on this list, there's no way. I might lose my mind if this is your last one. But this film is an animated film. It is one of the most nostalgic films of my childhood. It's creepy. It's dark. It's funny. It's adventurous. It is Monster House.
Monster House.
Yeah. So this is the thing. Only like half the population, probably of the half the amount of people I know, have even heard of this film to begin with. Yeah? Monster House? Yeah. Oh gosh, what can I say about Monster House? So it's essentially, it's an animated film that takes place on Halloween. It is a Halloween-esque film, but also like it's another film that I could watch at any point in the year. But watching it around Halloween time is for me like a must. I showed Clara this the other week. The way I describe it is it's kind of like Madame Tussauds wax style animation meets like Stranger Things and the Goonies. That's how I kind of describe it. It's very kind of Spielbergian. It's riveting for kids, but also adults. It's essentially about a kid named DJ. It's based in America, in the suburbs of America. And across the road, there is this isolated house. This old man lives in this house, and he's a very creepy old man called Mr. Nebuchadnezzar, who used to give me nightmares as a child. DJ basically becomes involved in this conspiracy that the house is actually possessed and is actually alive. Which it is. It's literally a monster house. And Mr. Nebuchadnezzar, there's an accident that happens and he leaves the house. And it's about this group of kids who spy on the house and try and infiltrate this house to find out what this whole mystery is about. Ultimately, the reason why it's at my number one is just because of nostalgia. But I think rewatching it again and again, it is a film that holds up. It's so funny. It's a film that kids can be frightened about and follow along, but it also has those adult jokes and humor in there that wink wink the parents will kind of get. The story, it takes place, like I said, over Halloween. And it has this sort of glowing backdrop, this orange backdrop of autumn and the fall. Like literally the opening shot follows a leaf that falls from a branch, and you follow this leaf through this neighborhood. The camera like just follows this really it screams autumn and winter to me, and it's a must watch. It's a staple for me at this time of the year, and I think it's just great. So if you enjoy Monster House and you like that film as much as I do, I love you too. But yeah, that's my number one. Hannah, what is your number one?
It's going to surprise you, but it's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. But I will watch Monster House. This one is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Of course. The Tim Burton?
Yes.
Okay.
Although I will say I've also like Wonka. Wonka can go on my honourable mentions list.
Yeah.
I really
Paul King, Paddington.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Can I just say, me and you reviewed this last year, didn't we? We reviewed Wonka literally at this time last year.
Did you?
Little shout out.
I really enjoyed
the episode
Wonka.
was so chaotic. It was so chaotic.
I really enjoyed Wonka. And obviously Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is an absolute classic. I think we start with obviously grandparents in bed.
Yeah.
The coziness of that. I feel like anytime like you're with your friends kind of like, debriefing on the morning and it's like the grandparents in bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, holds up as a film still, it's obviously like not a more recent film, but if you rewatch it, I think the colours, the vibrancy, it's great.
Great. Yeah. I don't even think there is an explanation that's needed. It's so, I think it was a part of a lot of our childhoods growing up, and just that film stands out just so much just because of its personality, the way it looks, the way it feels, the way it moves. You as a kid watching it, you are Charlie, you receive the golden ticket, you kind of look at, you go on this adventure with him and sort of look at, and you learn these lessons about all these other kids and what to do as a kid and what not to do. And it's just, it's also dark because like the squirrels and just, only someone like Tim Burton could pull something off like that, I would say. But
it's incredible. I mean, Tim Burton is someone who just can build a world.
Yeah.
And again, another thing that is still referenced a lot, like, every Halloween you'll see kind of people dressed up as different characters in the film. I think I just love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's brilliant. It is brilliant. And that is a great number one pick to round this list off. There you go, guys. Those were our top 10 sort of favorite watches during the autumn/winter time. Do let us know what your picks are. Thank you so much, Hannah.
Thank you.
No, of course, anytime. Thanks so much for taking time out of your week and coming down and chatting movies with me. It's it's been so fun.
Thanks for having me.
No, of course. And of course, guys, all Hannah's socials will be linked down below in the description box. Please do go check out her stuff. A lot of people say to me, "Oh my God, Dylan, you're so busy." Have you seen this? Like, it's incomparable.
She'd be working.
Yeah. Genuinely, really enjoy the stuff that you make, and Benedict as well. Like, you guys are I would say you guys are such a big power couple as well. Like I've seen on social media, and you guys are doing really great things. Yeah, I think what you guys are doing are fantastic, and just.
It's so lovely. I feel exactly the same back. I mean, me and Benedict were both mesmerised by the tennis, and I was like, he immediately was like, I have to follow, I have to see more.
You guys are kind. Yeah, that's my secret party trick. But
well,
there you go. Thank you so much, Hannah. Thank you guys for watching, listening, and we will catch you in the next episode of the Popcorn Podcast. Cheers.